want to be here, be here. And I do realize that there are a vast array of those that wish to be here that are not, but that's okay. Hopefully, it'll either be recorded or transcripted well enough. All right, so last time we talked about arts and crafts for the mages, which does bring up a real quick point. I will be attending the Archmage meetings. Now they are beginning again, the Archmage Circle, and it will be conducted at my long table on the opposite side of the library over there, right in front of the fireplace. So I will be conducting those meetings. We will set it up and figure out how I'm going to pull that one off with all my massive amounts of time that I have to give. It will probably be the fourth Sunday of the month at 10:30. Most likely. You should figure first and third Saturdays a row at 10:30. And then I'm having conclave meeting on the second weekend of the month. So the fourth weekend of the month, I will I will do the Archmage meeting. That way, everyone's on the same sheet of music. It only makes sense that the magician should be at such events. That way, it allows people to ask me questions and get real work done. Okay. No, no. um, Obviously, row normally would be Saturday, and battles are normally Saturday. But this week it is Sunday. We'll have to look at that. If it's a Saturday, it'll have to be, you know, I suppose I could pull off 10:30 on Saturday, but I do have to work. So on Saturdays I work, so that means that it will not be that long. So it'll have to be, if we do it on Saturday, it'll still have to be 10:30, but I'll have to leave by 11:30 so I can get to work. Sunday's my only day off. So I guess it'll have to be Saturday. And so that means that all 4 weeks, every Saturday at 10:30, I will be having a meeting. During the week, I cannot make it because when I get off work, you are all asleep. You know? Yes. And then by the time I get home from work, you are all well ensconced, nestled in your dreams. There are a few exceptions, but generally speaking, that is the case. It's, yes, Jalil Silverwolf. Conclave meeting is the second week of the month. And I had planned on doing it on Sunday, I will talk to Argo. But if I'm gonna if I'm gonna do all the other meetings on Saturdays, they may as well be all on Saturdays. Yes, I had though. Yes, that's going to be regular, but I might as well just do it all on Saturdays. Does that work for everyone? Saturdays are better. Yeah, that's monthly. Okay, so we'll just as as of this moment, until I hear otherwise, every Saturday of the month I'm having a meeting. The first Saturday will be row. Second Saturday will be conclave. Third Saturday will be battle, and the fourth Saturday will be archmage. Yes, we will have someone to to transcribe. I'm certain that we can make that happen. Because I will still be doing it in voice, but and what I had just said is it'll be all 4 Saturdays, and I will have someone will transcribe. We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. I don't type my meetings because it takes forever. A 1 hour meeting, which I'll let, generally speaking, is what I have to give. And Saturdays, there is no exception. Saturdays, it's a hardcore hour. Then typing takes twice as long. But yes, that is correct. Yes, everyone else's questions will be typed because that's important. You know, the reason I teach in Socratic method is because I am not perfect and I don't think of every single thing that everyone might want to know. So I teach in Socratic fashion so that if I didn't answer something that you wanted to know, you can ask and we'll make it happen. Okay? All right. Now, with all of that said, now that my Saturdays, all Saturdays are all booked, all Saturday mornings are all booked up now. Um, now that that's all set in stone, if you have any Archmage meetings during the week, hey, that's more power to you. But I won't be able to make those. You know, weekend mornings is all I got. Okay. And so there you have it. All right, now, so last class we had a special edition class, and it was the arts and crafts for mages. This week we're going to have arts and crafts for priests. So there's going to there's the floor was hit with a few questions about it. I was like, okay, cool, we can take care of that because the difference between arts and crafts. Arts are a um, very studious, uh, concentrated, focused, non emotional event. Okay? Crafts, on the other hand, are quite the opposite. Now, they obviously have a degree of study that goes with them, but that's not really the point. What they're really about is spending your emotions on the uh, type of magic you're performing. We talked last time about for mages that's witchcraft, whereas the art is sorcery. In the case of priestly magic, in case of divine magic, in case of priests, it's not really divided into a nomenclature of that magnitude. Uh, it's still arts and crafts, but there's really no true nomenclature that fits with the division. In fact, quite often the same priest does arts and crafts. Okay? It depends upon the type of spell you're using and what you're trying to do. Some types of divine magic require a great deal of passion, whether it's love, hate, whatever it is, requires a great deal of passion to perform. Other types of priestly magic require a great deal of concentration and focus and stepping out of oneself. Okay? Uh, Good example. All right. You're all familiar with the samurai class. Well, some of you will be. Samurai double eye. Okay? And with mystics, yes, mystics are mage, essentially, but they're a good example of what I'm talking about. Kai energy, okay? Focus of the Kai, okay? And that requires a great deal of concentration and collapsing of the inner self, an attempt at nirvana. Well, in the case of divine magic, that is quite common as well. Like there are, uh, let's use healing spells for instance. Okay. Now there are ways that you can do it in both. Okay. But it's not uncommon to do in both varieties. And then on the one hand, you have the focus contacting your God and being selfless and letting it flow through you and enacting your God's will, deity's will. Okay, and you are the conduit for that. You are the vessel to which your a deity has ascribed this inaction. But on the other hand, there are types, there is a way, there are casters who use pure passion. It's like, okay, we're going to go back to healing because this is one that can do both. Okay? For a healing spell, the passion, the drive, the desire to bring this person healing is so strong that they enact the will of their deity and heal the individual. Okay? So, in the case of divine magic, it's really going to be a lot of the same things that you do. Unlike unlike with mages, there's a definite line between um, things. The difference between a scarecrow golem and a iron golem. That's definite between witchcraft and sorcery. Whereas in divine magic, the line is personal. The line is within the caster. Okay, how you want to do it. It's still arts and crafts, but there are some that are going to be far more the craft type, and there are others who would be far more the art type. Neither are incorrect. Okay? All right. Thank you for bringing that one up. Okay. As far as druids go, druids are mostly going to be using craft. Okay? Simply because of the very nature of nature. All right. And and that is going to go along with every deity. Okay, when you are working on your direction, whether or not you are using arts and crafts, then you really need to think about what deific force you're working with. Example: Poseidon. Okay, if you are a priest of Poseidon, whether you're a cleric or a druid or not, you're going. He is the god of the ocean. Oceans are chaotic. Therefore, you're going to tip. Most likely, you're going to be using craft work when you're doing working with him. Zeus, same way. Okay, he's the god of storms and the wind, and etc., etc. So your chances are you're going to be doing craft work when you're working with Zeus or Poseidon. On the other hand, if you're working for if you are a priest of Athena, then you're going to be doing arts, okay, or Apollo, same way. Athena, Apollo, um, those are both arts. Artemis would be crafts, okay. So you look at who you're working with, and you figure out if you're going to be doing arts and crafts. Yes, Morrigan is going to be crafts. Okay. All right. That actually brings up a really good question. Does anyone have an inkling on who, if you would be arts and or crafts, if you have Hades? If Hades is your deity. Correct. It's arts. That's correct. Good job. Because Hades is not all about the passion. You know, Hades is the god of death and money. It's gonna all be all about you know scholarly pursuits, just like Athena. Okay, that was excellent. And across the board, whether you're doing arts and crafts, is really going to matter. It's really going to matter who your patron deity is. This is one of those times, just like when you're choosing your weapon. Okay? It's just like that. It is important to know who your deity is or who your deific force is because that's going to determine whether or not you're doing arts or crafts. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, since we are, you know, straddling the border right now, I have a question to pose to you all. What about sages? A sage is someone who straddles the line. They are both mage and priest. That's right. They're both mage and priest. So, do you think that the deific force that a sage is working with matters? Yes, it definitely matters. It definitely matters because you're in the case of a sage, you are weaving two different types of arts together to make a tapestry. That's right. That's why I'm talking about sages. Okay. I know she can't hear me, so I apologize. Um, in the case of a sage, they are weaving literally two different threads and putting them together to make a new thing. Okay. Let's say that, for the sake of argument, that arcane mana is red and divine mana is blue, for the sake of argument. In the case of a sage, they are weaving those together. They're still separate, but now they are functioning as a unit. So it is extremely important that you understand that whatever deific force that you are working with, awesome. See, you already got it. You know, that's why you're a sage because you know what I'm saying right now. That was a good answer there. Now you didn't make purple, did you? When you weaved red and blue together, it doesn't make purple. It doesn't make purple. It's the illusion of purple because red and blue can make the illusion of purple, but they are not actually re-dyed. It's not a new thing that you made. It's side by side. All right. Here's exactly. All right. Here's a good example. A few of you have seen me in my uh, Halloween costume. All right. Now, I also go to the Comic Con in that same costume. Now, for Halloween, I am the Joker. Okay. I do not have a purple suit. I do not wear a purple suit. I wear a navy suit with red pinstripes. Now, because of the optical illusion, it makes it look like I'm wearing a purple suit. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you? Is the illusion of purple? Okay, so everyone gets where we're standing right now, right? You know what we're talking about. Okay. Now, in the case of a priest, unlike a mage who can, I mean, mages, okay, I'll back up in a second. I'll go there in a second. In the case of a mage, it's definite whether or not you're doing witchcraft or sorcery. And it's someone who does both is called an arcanist, by the way. But, you know, so you basically, you've got witchcraft and sorcery. Now, in the case of divine magic, it's not divided in that definitive nomenclature. Now, okay, since I just talked about deities and that it's important to know, why does anyone can anyone answer this question? Why are they not divided? You know, arts and crafts are there, so why are they not divided into definitive nomenclatures? Can anyone know? And does anyone know the answer? Okay, the answer is because in the case of divine magic, the lines, yeah, it is deity based, and the lines are not so very strict because when you have a patron deity, does that patron deity work alone? No, the patron deity does not work alone. That is your patron, okay? But the whole pantheon is has a relationship to you, okay? You have a relationship to the entire pantheon, okay? Yes, your patron is who it is, okay? But you have a relationship with the pantheon, okay? So that means that other deities in that pantheon, can be lending a hand too, and that means that arts and crafts are across the board, okay? Because even though you're doing a craft with one guy, girl, whoever it is, one deity, okay, the rest, the other members of that pantheon maybe artisans, you know. All right, Hephaestus, arts or crafts, god of fire, and something else. Does anybody know arts or crafts? Okay, arts. Okay, you're like, hey, fire is chaotic. How can it be? How can it be arts? Well, because it's measured. Okay, it's precise. Okay, it is strict. With Hephaestus, okay, in his case, it is measured and precise. Fire is not always that way. Like say, the the elemental lord of fire is not going to be that same way. Yes, Jalil Alina Elilana. And she can't hear me. Okay. Where I'm going. Where I'm going is that in the case of priests, one individual can be doing arts and crafts both. Okay? Whereas in the case of mages, a mage that does both is an arcanist. Well, in the case of priests, all priests would be the equivalent of an arcanist. Okay? Because they're doing both. Now they may be focused in one direction because of who their deity is. Yes, I know. Sorry. Sometimes I talk fast. I will let you catch up. Try to repeat myself. In the case of priests, one individual can be doing both arts and crafts. The priest would be the priestly equivalent of an arcanist. Okay? Now, even though they have one deity as that is their patron, so that means they are primarily whichever side, right? Because they adhere to this one individual, they do the other side of the same coin because there are other members in that pantheon. All right. Does that make sense? Yeah, that looks good. Okay. I thought that looks good. Are there any questions on any of that? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So, you know, we'll still be talking about arts and crafts, and you got questions, you're more than welcome to bring up at any time. But I've got a, you know, I have something else to throw at you priestly types, or for those of you that are into that need this knowledge. necromancy. You're like, what? That's a mage thing. Well, mages, necromancers are typically mages, that's right. But necromancy is a type of magic. A wizard that studies necromancy is a necromancer. Correct. All right. But necromancy is death magic. Okay. So ask. So what does that have to do with priests? Well, are there any death spells that priests have? Does anyone know? The answer is yes. A vast array of death related spells. So if you are functioning with death related spells, you are messing with necromancy. Okay? It is the head. It's exactly. It's the opposite of healing it. Okay? If you're messing with death, you're messing with necromancy. Okay? So ask yourself, is resurrection a healing spell? Is resurrection a healing spell? Does anyone know? That's right. It's a death spell. Yes, it's reversing death, but it is a death spell. It's reversing death. It's not healing someone. Is resurrection a healing spell? No. It's not healing anybody. It's bringing them back to life. Okay? Now, it's not the same type of making of, it's not undeath that necromancers typically deal with. You know, but it is still, you're messing with death. Okay? You are messing with death. You are playing God in the same way that a necromancer does. Necromancers bring, zombies and skeletons and mummies, vampires. That's undeath. You know, that is that is dragging the nether plane and the denizens thereof to here, to the prime, to Terra. Now you're not doing that with bringing somebody back to life, but you are still messing with death. Okay? You are reversing the natural order of things. You could never be considered a necromancer because bringing someone back to life is not considered bad. Yes, there are. I'm about to actually do that. And yeah, the prime plane, that's us. Terra, the prime material plane. That is where the vast majority of individuals are. Okay? That is where you're sitting right now. and then there's the nether plane, which is where your dark energy comes from. That's where all a vast majority of undead inhabit, at least partially. And then there's the ether, which is where which is the positive material plane. Okay, and a lot of your uh, undead are there too. Okay, that's basically the good undead and then the evil undead. You know, for lack for simple terms. Okay. All right. Now, priests mess with both of those planes. Okay. And they mess with the lower planes and the upper planes. That's right. Those are those are necromancy. Okay? There are priest spells that can create undead, just like there are mage spells. You know, raise dead. And, you know, there are priest necromancers as well. They're generally not called that, but that does not mean that they're not. Okay? A priest necromancer is usually called a dark priest. Okay? Because priests have black magic also. They can deal with the lower planes. They can deal with the nether. Shadow Bolt. Okay? Does anyone know what Shadow Bolt is? Shadow Bolt is a manifestation from the nether that is that a dark priest shoots like a fireball. Yes, nether blast. That's yeah. Shadow Bolt is exactly correct. That is true. You're right. And you're dealing with the other side. Okay. But yes, and both uh, light priests and dark priests mess with forces that are beyond the prime material. But yes, sometimes it's referred to as etherbolt. Sometimes it's referred to as ether lance. It's also been uh, it's most commonly referred to as uh, light lance or spiritual hammer. That is the most common term for the good guy, quote unquote, version of Shadow Bolt is spiritual hammer. Yeah, Searing Bolt is also in the same vein. Okay, it's a series of spells. Okay, that both sides have. You know, but the point here is to let you know that priests use spells that call upon other planes of existence also. Alright? Just like mages do. But priests do it at the behest of their deified force. Alright? Generally, clerics work with the upper nether or lower nether. Alright? Whereas, and shamans too. Druids, on the other hand, typically work with the elemental plants. So you can have a priest running around throwing around fireballs, can't you? A priest that throws fireballs is messing with the elemental plants. That means that their deified force is fire. Druids, a fire druid is a perfect example, but not the only one. All right? Can anyone name two deities off the top of their head that would allow fire? There are, like, like I'm about to say, there are a couple that use fire. Um, hey, 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 hey. Well, Hephaestus is a good example. Hestia is who I was thinking of, about Pele works. Ragnaros is very, very funny choice. But yes, you're not wrong. But actually, I think that he's a elemental lord. I believe elemental lord of fire. Yes. So he would. So he would actually fall under elemental lord rather than some of the others. Yes. Um, Hestia is who I was thinking of. Does anyone know who Hestia is? Yes, Kotheth. Kotheth is perfect. Is good. Does anyone know who Hestia is? Ra. Actually, Ra is the god of light. He's the god of the sun. But yes, Hestia is the Greek goddess of the hearth. She is also. What is a hearth? Does anyone know? Fireplace. Ta-da! You're right. She's the god of fire. Okay? Whereas Hephaestus is the god of fire and artificing, building. She is the goddess of fire and the home. Okay? So she is also fire. They have two fire gods in Greek mythology. In the Greek pantheon, there are two fire gods, a male and a female. And ironically, they're both very, very quiet, whereas fire is loud and raging and torrential. Both Greek fire gods are very quiet and reserved. Interesting dynamic there. That's right. Low and smoldering. You are correct. Because what happens if you anger either of those two? Especially Hestia. That is where the term hell hath no fury comes from, is Hestia. Yes. Ra is actually, he's the god of the sun, just like Apollo. And his light burns so hot that, shoot, it burns, it incinerates. Um, but yeah, he's the god of light. And he is the Egyptian equivalent of Apollo. But in Egypt, he's the king of the gods because every area of the world has a different patron depending on the where they live, the weather, what is required. Okay, Egypt is really hot, really sunny, and so their patron is the god of the sun. Greece is very stormy and wet, and so their patron is Zeus. Uh, the Nordic lands, which are pretty vast, but as far north as you can get um, before you hit ice. Odin is their lead, but Odin is Kronos, and their prime hero is Thor, and Thor is Zeus because of storms. Okay. Now, one would think because there's a vast array of Vikings that run around on the ocean that they would have Poseidon as their prime entity, and in some cases that's true, but it's not generally considered their chief deity. Anyway, but all of those matter because who you choose as your deity depicts whether or not you're going to be doing arts or crafts. But because you're a priest, you're going to do both. Okay, that just means that your prime uh, deified force is going to be one side of the coin or the other. Kronos is a titan. You are correct. And Zeus had to beat all the giants, all the titans, and all the monsters in order to become king of the gods. You are correct. But Kronos in the Nordic religion is Odin because he's the god of time. Yes, that's right. Surtur is the god of fire, and he is a titan also, just like Surtur and Odin and Thrym are all titans. But you are correct. And you will note that the Nords have some of the Titans, if not all of them, as prime entities. And that's where you start being able to figure out who is who when you map them all out. Because, and actually, ironically, the Nords give us the beginning of that map. Both. The Nords are the Norse. Yes. Nordic. All right. That's why I use that sometimes. Um, because when you describe it as an adjective, it becomes Nordic. There's not a word. Norsic isn't a word. um, and it's becomes even more uh, expansive when you start when you pass the Mediterranean, when you pass um, Assyria and Samaria, when because that's Iran and Iraq for those of you that don't know. When you pass there, then the number of entities expands because they still have active for a much longer period of time nomenclatures for the lesser deities. Okay, quote unquote lesser deities. In fact, as you have heard many times in the Nordic mythology, elves are gods. Okay, they fight alongside or against the Asgardians on equal footing. Okay, when you sweep across the world and you start hitting the India, China, Japan, you see Nordic gods are the Asgardians. I apologize. I was talking about elves. For those, because there are some people out there say, well, vampires are more powerful than elves. It's like, no, dude, you really haven't paid attention, have you? Vampires are awesome. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But mythologically speaking, elves are gods. Okay. And since everyone here is equal, that's how come we can be equal. All right? Dragons are totally bad to the bone, right? There is no question about it on every level. Okay? You look at Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and all that. Say, oh, well, dragons are totally bad. Well, yes, they are. Absolutely. And it's like, well, how come they're not totally bad here? That they're just not the dominating force? Well, the reason is because everyone here is equal. Because I go with the concept, the ancient Nordic concept that elves fought directly beside Asgardians. All right. So then you're going to ask another question, saying, all right, if everyone here is godlike, okay, if the humans are the first men, all right, and everyone is godlike, then how do we have gods? All right, thank you for bringing that up. No one asked the question, just me. Because no matter who you are, there is somebody above you. No matter how Billy Bad you are, there is someone above you. And because of our penchant for anthropomorphication, those people above us are people. And so, Kronos, Rhea, Zeus, Ra, Thor, and the list goes on, all maintain their deification. Okay. So little Aliana does not understand because she can't hear me. I know I speak above most people's heads, and I deeply apologize. Okay? And sometimes I get off on a rant or tangent, I suppose. I was talking about how we can still have deified forces, even though we're we are all equal. There are gods because someone is above us. And the reason I bring this up is because some people say, hey, come to me. Some people say, you know, vampires are more powerful than anyone. No, vampires are awesome, okay? But they are equal to all the rest of us. Dragons, totally bad to the bone, but they're equal to the rest of us, okay? We are all equal because, and there are people above us, and they are the deified forces, okay? Is the Big C here? I haven't seen. I haven't been able to see the Big C yet because I work all the time. I apologize. My apologies. I'm looking around. Oh, okay. Yes, Big C's are cool. You know, I don't know if stripes are slimming or not. Some people tell me that they're slimming. Other people say that they're the opposite. Hey, well, how you find that out is you look for a Big C. All right. Now I did get off on the deity tangent, but the reason I did that, the important thing is to give you a real understanding of why it's important to know who your deity is, what your deified force, and to realize that the deified force has a meaning. Okay? If you're a priest, your deified force is your bread and butter. That is your character defining uh, trait. Right? Someone who says, I'm a priest. Well, that's cool. All right. But what's cooler is you tell me I'm a priest of who? Because that's what's going to tell me about who you are. Okay? That's what matters. I'm a priest of who? And example, Blood Knights. What is a par? Does anyone know what Paragon all Blood Knights are? They're cleric assassins. What's a cleric assassin called? Executioner. Now, the cleric half of that, that's what I'm at, that's what I want to ask you. What does that mean? They are executioners. What does the cleric half of that mean? You know, just saying, "Hey, I'm a cleric assassin." That says something awesome, you know. But what it really means, okay? Yes, well, that is true. Absolutely. Um, there are clerics of the death god. They are clerics of the god of death, and they are assassins to administer, to usher people into that state of being. Does that make sense? They're clerics of the god of death. That has a whole nother statement than saying, I'm a cleric, okay? Hey, that's cool, but who are you the cleric of? Because that's your defining feature, okay? Jill Bellman, Magister Apprentice Bellman. She is a cleric. But is that her defining feature? Does that tell you who she is? No. How you know what she's gonna is you're gonna say, okay, what cleric of Aphrodite, right? Yeah, well, yeah, of course she's a classy lady, but that's and okay, so that's defining. I give you that one, but who she's the cleric of is what defines that character. Oh yeah, she has spiritual hammer. She can smack you with the best of them. Good fighter. But point is, what defines a priest is who their deity is. Anyone know Kor? Little innocent looking sort of Kor. Innocent. Yes, so not. Who is Kor priest of? Asmodeus. That's right. So her exactly. So her little innocent character self, the defining feature of her is that she is a priest, a high priest of Asmodeus. Yes. All Blood Knights are executioners, regardless of what their other class is. They are executioner in addition to whatever else they were before. But if they were already one of those, then their level is better than it was. They're level 1 executioner unless they were previously another thing. Could feasibly be double paragon. They are the world defenders. Yes, uh, there are some exceptions. How? Yes, that is true. All true. Yes, sometimes sitting at night at the taverns, unless a certain barkeep happens to be there because he knows he has an ability that transfers all IC knowledge to OC knowledge to IC. So you listen to him talk, you're gonna know things. But also, hey, he may also fill you know, filling your cup full of grog. And there's a reason for that. Oh, he's around. He's just doing his own thing. And that's okay. People do that. I still talk to him. He still shows up. He helped decorate my office. You know, he popped in and helped me, and was like, "All right, I need to move this here, and I move that there." You know, and he's like, "Okay, yeah, that looks good over there." Same with Jilla Rose over there. She helped decorate my office a little in the same way. Okay, now any any other questions? I hope you got the point that a person's deity, a priest's deity, defines them. Because that's most important piece of knowledge. They, if you take away nothing, if you take that away, then we're golden, right? Cool. All right. Magister Emeritus. That's what Echo is. If you see him, tell him I said hi, because I know he's not on same time as me. I have been hearing he's been popping around. That's awesome, but not the same times as me. but I am on so very often. Like I live on here every second of every day. Not. Okay. He's both. Echo, just so you know. Sage. He's Sage. Okay. Any questions about anything we've talked about so far? I'm going to go ahead and close this here pretty soon. I just want to make sure everything's covered before I do. Because the arts and crafts, important thing, you know? And the knowledge that your deity is the defining factor of any priest, important thing. That's true. Has been often called chief cook and bottle washer. That's what his title should be. All right. No questions. Everybody's square. All right. Then I will go ahead and shut this down. Balados for your attendance this day. And for I will see you, some of you next week. And the rest of you I will see the week after that. Balados for your attendance. Vendas for now.